Hey, it's Lemon. Welcome to the Backlogs. Another year down and another year begun, which means we've got another chance to do what this channel was supposed to do and play some games I haven't played before. And while I know we've played a few games several times in a row because of their challenge run potential, thanks Miyazaki, surely I've made some sort of dent in the 4 years this channel has been running. Oh my god, how is it twice as big as when I started? What the fuck? So yeah, looks like we know what my New Year's resolution is. And with that in mind, it's time to play a game that I haven't played since it came out almost 20 years ago, Gears of War. But we can't just play Gears of War. No, what we're gonna do is ask the two ever important questions that we ask for every video game we play. Does it have bombs, and can we beat the game with them? And sadly, the answer is an immediate no. There simply aren't enough explosives in the game to deal with the waves upon waves of enemies that Gears throws at you. But this channel also started its challenge running career with a fist-only run, and while it's not my preferred method, it turns out the Firebomb Academy does offer a minor in fisting. Wait, today we're gonna find out. Can you beat Gears of War with only melee and explosives? Right then, time for a story. For those of you who don't know, Gears of War is a game that takes place on the planet Sera, an Earth equivalent. There's a whole boatload of lore to process, but all you need to know is that there's another species on Sera, the Locust, who emerged from seemingly anywhere underground and have been pushing humanity to the brink of extinction for 14 years. We play as Marcus Phoenix, a soldier who has been in prison for 4 years for abandoning his post in an attempt to look for his father amidst the fighting. And wouldn't you know it, the war is going so badly that the commander, Hoffman, just pardoned everybody and ordered everyone back to the front lines. And so our adventure begins. Luckily for us, it looks like Gears lets us skip the tutorials so we can jump right into the action. Which is good, because most tutorials have a tendency to ruin challenge runs. Right, let's see what I'm working with. We've got a pistol and a machine gun, both of which can smack enemies across the chin. No explosives as of yet, but we'll get there. And right on schedule, some enemies with chins. Hey, anyone over the age of 30 in the audience, remember chest-high wall cover shooters? Gears of War remembers. Hell, Gears might have been the start of them. So the first thing you might notice is that I seem to be struggling a bit. Part of that is 20 years of rust on the old fingers, but the other part is the fact that Marcus staggers every time he gets shot, which interrupts your melee animations. So that's fun. The second thing you'll notice is that melee damage, not half bad. Granted, getting up to an enemy is awful, but once you're there, it's not really an issue to smack them down. And for our troubles, our first set of grenades. Very nice. These bad boys are multifunction. Not only can you toss them way farther than you have any right to across the map, but you can also melee enemies when you have them equipped, which acts as a sort of sticky grenade, which I would have used extensively, but as it turns out, this game is actually really hard if you're not constantly huffing concrete while using the chest-high walls placed all over the map. Go figure. Moving right along, there's one other mechanic that's going to be important to the entire run. Dom. Dom here is very bad at his job, but unfortunately for us, Dom is also essential to making it through this entire run. Come on, buddy. No laying down on the job. An important thing to note about Dom, there's no way to control him. Not really, anyway. We can give commands later in the game, but they're essentially just attack and regroup on me, so not exactly high-level tactics. So, with that in mind, you're probably gonna see Dom constantly disrespecting the rules of the challenge run and shooting all of the locusts around him, but cut him some slack. It's his first challenge run. But with all the locusts around us smacked to death, we can finally escape in a helicopter. And with a little sneak peek to the kind of abominations we'll be facing off against later in the game, that's the prologue complete. Which brings us to Act 1, Ashes. I'm given a well-used chainsaw gun, the iconic weapon of the entire series, then meet the rest of the crew. We've got Carmine, the rookie, Lieutenant Kim, the main character, and Anya, our communications officer. Ooh, Marcus, do I sense some sexual tension? Oh, and then there's Private... never mind. His name wasn't important anyway. The main character and our commanding officer discuss the main mission of the game, which is to bring a light mass bomb to the center of the Locust tunnels and blow them all to Kingdom Come. Apparently, the issue is that the squad that was supposed to map out the tunnels with something called the Resonator went dark, and now we have to go find them, finish the mission, and end the war. Piece of cake. Me and the rest of the nameless NPCs killed all the Locusts while you were talking, by the way. God, is this what it's like to be a side character? No wonder so many of them become villains by the end of the story. Anywho, time to kill some Locusts. I get used to the controls, then get used to seeing this screen, then get used to the fact that Gears of War checkpoints are always a bit further back than you'd like. Hooray! Alright, pop quiz. If Lemon has a chainsaw gun and is allowed to do melee attacks, how long will it take Lemon to take off his nostalgia-tinted glasses and realize that he's getting staggered out of chainsaw animations? Answer, way too long for his own good. Look at him, revving his chainsaw to make sure he's pressing the right buttons. Poor bastard. Oh, alright, let's give him what he wants. Poor guy has to make it through the entire game. He needs something to believe in. And that's just one problem with this run. Gears of War is actually a lot harder than I remember it being. Well, if you can't shoot back anyway. Thankfully, the gameplay loop itself is pretty simple. Kill enemies, plug up the holes they come out of, rinse and repeat for most of the game. Now we just need past Lemon to catch up with the rest of us, and we should be set. Don't worry though, he'll get there. Eventually. And after several minutes of repeatedly getting smacked out of the chainsaw animations, one of the enemy punches to the face knocked some sense into me, and I made the necessary changes to my tactics. Goodbye, chainsaw gun. The pistol is my new love, and it won't betray me nearly as often as you did. And this thankfully proved to be true. The pistol's windup for its melee attack is much shorter, and so I can actually get off an attack even when I'm being shot by enemies. Just what Pest Control ordered. Oh hey, it's Alpha Team. Or what remains of them anyway.
I'll open the door. I've got the code.
Gosh, sure must be nice to be the main character, huh Kim? More Locusts arrived to the fight, but I've finally figured out how to throw grenades with relative accuracy, so their emergence holes don't last very long. And now that I've finally realized the error of my ways with the chainsaw, combats are actually much smoother now. Simply hide behind a pillar, let the enemy come to you, then show them the business casual side of your weapon. Well, we found Alpha Team, I think. Kinda hard to tell. I don't recognize his face.
Is that the resonator?
Nah.
Wait, you don't even know what it looks like? God, you really are the main character, aren't you? No time to think about that though. The Locusts have a turret set up in the area. Lucky for us, there's an alley that sneaks behind it. Guess you should have made a turret that can turn 360 degrees, huh? I also finally figured out how to use my chainsaw. The best time to use it is when you and an enemy are both trying to use the same cover. Move quickly around it before they have time to react, and it's giblets for everyone. After clearing the Troika turret, we have to defend our position at an old fountain. There's plenty of ammunition here that I can't use, but only 4 grenades. Which would be fine, except for the fact that there's 4 emergence holes. Which begs the question, does the game expect you to perform perfectly? Even if this weren't a challenge run, there's not an unlimited amount of grenades. And surely the game had to know that there'd be players that would fail to throw grenades in the holes, especially when the enemies coming out of said holes can't actually get in the way. Well, turns out, you don't actually have to. While sealing a locust hole prevents more locusts from coming out, every hole has a set number of enemies that it'll spawn. Using a grenade to plug the hole only closes it prematurely. If you kill all the enemies, the hole automatically closes shut, which means we don't have to waste our precious grenades.
Looks like we need to split up.
Oh yeah? Alright, Captain Plot Armor. In that case, I'm going left. Good adventurers always go left. Gears of War does this several times throughout the campaign, giving you a choice of path. Interesting for multiple playthroughs and multiplayer, but for our purposes, it just means that if we're struggling with one path due to our weapon restrictions, there's another option. And you'll actually have to rely on each team completing their side path in order to progress too. The paths tend to be side by side, and each team can make the other team's progress easier if they're moving together. New technique I developed for the run, punching down. Apparently, I can reach over barriers like this one and just slap the daylights out of any enemy that's hunkered down on the other side. God help me if they ever figure out that they could do the same. I sneak up on another turret, pummeling its users into a fine paste as I do, but it's here that we hit our first brick wall. See this locust here? He's a bit out of melee range, and guess who just so happens to be out of grenades? At this point, my only solution is to let the AI work their way up, then take pot shots at the enemy until they hopefully get lucky. Which they eventually do, but boy oh boy do I hope that this doesn't become a frequent event. And yeah, this part might have been a lot easier if I had noticed the glowing green door that led up to that particular locust, but you and I both know that this is going to happen again down the line. Oh look, the locusts have grenades and shotguns now. Yeah, I'm sure that sudden increase in damage won't be a problem for me. Eventually. Okay, so maybe that complicates things a bit, but in an effort to restore balance, I found a way to keep things simple. The locusts like popping out of holes, but they really don't enjoy being pushed back into them. Who knew?
You good?
Yeah, but I got a problem. Something's wrong with this thing. It keeps jamming. See?
Sniper!
Oh my god, they killed Carmine! You bastards! Seriously though, that guy's gotta be on a kill streak at this point. Hope he doesn't summon dogs. I always struggle with those. Is that? It is! That's right, it's the coal train, baby.
Yeah, that was beautiful, baby.
State your name, soldier.
Private Augustus Cole, Alpha Squad, sir.
Coal? As in the coal train?
Yeah, that's right.
God, I love this guy. Easily the best character in the series.
Remember this guy? He played for the Cougars, defensive lineman. We saw you play.
That's right. Everybody wants to see the train, baby.
Man, this game had some good lines. Wait, what are we doing? Oh, right, killing Locust. Silly me, got caught up in the fun. Nothing to see here though. This version of Locust, Wretches, only take a single hit to down. Footage fodder, nothing more. They do have a nasty habit of climbing up on the ceilings and getting behind you though, so you have to keep your head on a swivel whenever they show up. But this next enemy type is going to require something a bit bigger. Welcome to the second most iconic weapon of the game, the Hammer of Dawn. This cedar locust here is blocking our communications and causing hell for our helicopters, but the hammer is essentially the world's biggest explosive. Just pull the trigger, hold your aim steady, and watch as God herself smites whatever's below. You can use it on smaller targets as well, dragging the laser across the map and disintegrating anything unfortunate enough to get in the way. And with unlimited ammo, this thing is a godsend for this run. Sadly, it only works outside, and even then, only works when the satellites that fire the laser are overhead. We'll take full advantage of it when we can, but that won't be very often. Anywho, I play Red Hands with a gaggle of wretches, who all have some of the worst reaction times I've ever seen, melt down the last cedar that's blocking our comms, find a new pistol that probably does more damage than my current one, if I was using it properly anyway, get swiftly reminded that playing Gears of War the wrong way is not and will not be easy no matter how good I think I am, and finally, at long last, decide to try meleeing with a grenade to see what happens. And it's exactly what you think it is, in the best way possible. We continue to make our way across the city, soaking in the evocative architecture while Marcus drops hints about his background story, then arrive at the building's rooftop, where I'm told I need to clear the street and air so the helicopter can come pick us up.
Get on those troikas!
Kim, my dude, a turret is not an explosive or melee attack. The Hammer of Dawn, however, that I can get behind. And with all the locusts dead, we meet up with the rest of Alpha Squad, who do in fact have the resonator.
Who loves you, baby?
Yeah, group hug.
Oh, Baird, you snarky bitch, you. Something tells me I'm going to be able to relate to you a lot more than I did 20 years ago. And with the helicopter finally here, we can get out of this hellhole. Unless the squiddies from the Matrix decide to ruin the parade. Well, shoot. There goes that idea. But don't worry, I'm sure main character Kim has a plan. Oh, fuck. Guess that plot armor had to run out eventually. Well, new plan. Run away! Okay, one final parting gift. Ha! Stupid idiot. Okay, run away. Right, Kim may be dead, but we've still got the resonator, so the mission's still on. And now that we're inside a super sturdy building everyone calls the Tomb, it should be smooth sailing from here. You just had to say something, didn't you, Tom? Berserkers are exactly what they sound like. They're wild, mindless, and blind, which means they kill anything that makes noise. And if you've played a video game in the last 20 years, I'm sure you see where this is going. That's right, a whole lot of roadie running and praying to whatever god that'll listen that the AI doesn't have good tracking. Which it doesn't. In all honesty, this was an easy section. So long as you have enough courage and are wearing your trusty brown pants, luring the Berserker into all the doors you need to smash through is very doable. Naturally, there's one slight problem.
You're running out of time.
Oh good, thank you! Apparently, the only way to kill a Berserker is with the Hammer of Dawn. And since the Hammer of Dawn relies on the satellites being in position in order to work, we've got about 6 minutes to get to the end of the level and melt her down before we're screwed. I'd do it in 1.5. Or I would have if Dom wasn't trolling me the entire time. What are you doing? Get out of the way! Dom, for the love of God! But despite Dom's interference, we've done it. Act 1 complete. And with the commander promoting me to main character, we have a new mission. Get to the Lethia Emulsion Facility, deploy the resonator, profit. And with that, we've entered Act 2. Nightfall. Our current objective is to find a mode of transportation and get somewhere safe before the sun dips. Because when the sun dips, well, you'll see.
I'm gonna find me some locusts and I'm gonna ruin their day. Know what I mean? I bring the pain.
Don't you ever get tired?
Hell to the no.
God, if I could bottle this man's energy, I'd be able to make 6 videos a week. Oh look, a new enemy type. The Boomer. A hulk of an enemy that always carries a grenade launcher. He also delivers one-liners. Unfortunately for them, though, they're dumb as rocks, which means they aren't exactly interested in finding cover and are easy target practice for my squad mates, which means free grenade launchers from moi. Come to daddy. And good feelings gone.
Yeah, it's gonna wait. Save us for later. Like a snack. Bullshit. You think I'm kidding? I think you're batshit crazy. That's what I think.
Oh, ain't that cute?
Like two assholes on their first date.
And good feelings back. We punch our way through wherever the hell we are, learn firsthand how strong the boom shot is when another boomer joins the party, and also discover that using the chainsaw or melee grenade trick doesn't work on boomers, which is a real shame, but at least using a grenade regularly still does. Oh hey look, people. Time for a little world building. While every government except for the Cogs has fallen on Sarah, there are still outposts of people around the planet called Stranded, for obvious reasons. Dom is well known at this particular outpost because he's looking for someone and has several of the locals keeping an eye out for them. More on that in Gears of War 2 and 3. Unfortunately for us though, stranded people don't tend to like the cogs very much. Mostly because of all the martial law they tend to use, but also because there's no evidence that anything the cogs are doing is actually helping win the war. If anything, things are only getting worse. Dom finds his contact and calls in a favor the man owes him. Somehow, despite this world gone to hell, this man owns a working car. Things get a little tense, but after a minute or two, my guy here agrees to give us a ride so long as Baird and Cole stay behind as collateral.
Done.
Dom, the hell, man. Just one problem. The car is at the gas station, and there's a lot of ground to cover between here and there. Ah well, gotta do what we gotta do. Oh, look, a ferry. Yeah, sure, this'll end well. And you know what? It does. Outside of Dom dancing the glitch mambo, nothing of note happens while we cross the river. Oh, except for the fact that the sun goes down, and a new threat comes bursting out of every shadow in the whole city. Say hello to the krill. Just imagine piranhas with wings, and you've pretty much got the picture. The only saving grace we have is that they hate light, so we should be fine. Oh, hey, you guys might wanna run. Well, so long as we stay inside, we should be fine, right? And the game wants me to go outside. Great. So fun new mechanic, if you leave the light, the krill start to home in on you, and if you don't get back into light fast enough, Marcus Phoenix becomes Marcus Giblets. But there is a positive to all this. The krill aren't locusts, which means that if a locust decides to try their luck in the dark, they get torn to shreds just as fast as we do. So we got that going for us. Dom also gets chowed on pretty hard, but thankfully the game recognizes that it would suck if we had to compensate for bad AI, and makes it so that he auto-revives in the dark so long as you're not in combat. But now, the next new mechanic. Using propane tanks as a light source. I suppose I could have used my grenades and boom shot instead of my pistol, but considering we're not doing any damage to anything, and the bullet does result in an explosion of some kind, I'm not gonna overthink it. And so begins our trek across the city. This part sucked. Just a whole lot of blowing up propane tanks, pushing on-fire cars to get across the streets, and the occasional chainsaw kill for a little bit of stress relief. Oh look, they even have a spotlight puzzle segment. Granted, the puzzle is just covered down with a spotlight so he doesn't die, but still, one more stretch to go. Unfortunately, the only way there is through this poorly lit house, and this guy here is the only one who can keep it lit.
Whatever. Go in the house. I'll run the lights.
We're fucked.
Lights still on? Uh-oh. Just playing with you.
If the locusts don't kill that man by the time we get back, I'm gonna. I kid you not. Anywho, after riding the whip through the remaining streets of the level, we finally arrived at Chap gas station, home of really cheap gas, apparently. I talked to Chaps himself, who's just thrilled that we're here, load up the car, which is more of a tank than anything else if we're being honest, then fight off a wave of locusts who arrive right before we can leave. Oop, should've stood in the light there, bud. Geez, there's a lot of them. Screw it, you only live once. Might as well use the ammo I've been collecting. And there we go, time for the second half of the mission.
Dom! Let's go!
Yeah, no, that's probably fine. Let's hurry up and get back to Cole and Baird. That was your fault, Dom. You're bad. But with that bit of vehicular manslaughter out of the way, it's time to race back to the stranded settlement. Sadly, our junker lives up to its name, and can only power the vehicle or the UV turret, not both. So, when entire swarms of krill come spilling out of the buildings, we have to stop driving and give them a shot of UV light. And no, you can't just lay on the button. The UV turret only fires in short bursts. After seeing how long this was going to take, I decided I'd play it clever and just speedrun through the whole map. We're faster than the krill after all. Or rather, we were. But then I hit this bump in the road, and every single krill from the entire map came down on the junker all at once. It ended about as you'd expect. On my second attempt at it though, I varied up the tactic a little bit. I still sped through nearly the entire map without stopping, but after about 3/4 of the level complete, I finally swapped to my turret and took out all the krill in one fell swoop. Much easier, much faster. And now for the final bit, the fight at the stranded settlement. This part is going to suck for me because of one very simple reason. The entire fight is a ranged battle. There are a few grenades around the barricades that we can huck out into the field, but naturally, there are more locusts and emergence holes than there are grenades. So we have to rely on the age-old strategy of letting the AI do everything. Well, mostly. After a few minutes, it became very apparent that the AI was incapable of hitting the smaller long-distance targets, so I used a few boom shots to speed things up. And after a few more minutes of waiting for Dom and the boys to get their acts together, an entire horde of boomers shows up. As they do. Thankfully, there was a simple solution to our boomer problem. Shoot a propane tank, and profit. Easy game for babies. And with that, it's time to get the hell out of here. and into Act 3, Belly of the Beast. Unfortunately, the junker very quickly decided that it's just junk, which means we're hoofing it in the pouring rain, at night. It's fine, everything is fine. Luckily for us, there's a factory of some kind nearby, and Baird is great at repairing stuff, so we should be. Why are those wretches glowing? Yup, I wasn't seeing things. That little guy's definitely swallowed one too many lightning bugs. Time for a new enemy type, lambent wretches. These little buggers have been exposed to one of the fuel sources on this planet, emulsion, for a bit too long. I'm not sure if this exposure affects their thinking at all, but it does make them explode when they die, so we have to boot and scoot whenever we kill one. We make our way into the factory, and oh boy, didn't realize we were playing Dead Space, if you know what I mean. But hey, we found a survivor. He's a little jumpy, but he does have the keys to the kingdom, so hopefully he'll be useful. Come on, buddy, stick with us and you'll be just fine. Dom, why'd you go and lie to the poor guy like that? We pushed through the rest of the factory, where I learned firsthand how hard it is to fight a boomer with only melee attacks. But after learning their reach, it actually isn't too bad so long as you don't give them a chance to shoot, which means we have an easy way of recovering boomshot ammo from here on out. After that, it's time for the mandatory minecart segment, and wouldn't you know it, you can't melee in the minecart. That said, you also don't have to do anything in the minecarts either. The game makes it out as if you have to fight for your life while riding it, but if you just chill out and stay hunkered down, nothing can actually touch you. Well, that's not entirely true. There was one point where my cart stopped right next to a locust that would have killed me, but Dom actually pulled his weight for once and killed it before it could finish me off. Alright gang, fun's over. Move out. Come on Baird, that includes you. Oh hey, this factory is actually a giant drilly platform. I guess that means we can set off the resonator while we're here, seeing as it just needs to be placed inside the locust tunnels. 2 for the price of 1. I'm all for it. And while getting here at night wasn't exactly something any of us wanted to do, it's actually beneficial, because judging by the guano everywhere, the krill live down here, which means they'll be back when the sun starts coming up, so we better get moving. I fight my way through more lambent wretches and locust, get my hourly reminder that I'm not as tough as I look and that I need to take things slower, then proceed to ignore that advice and die several more times. Don't worry, I'll bury myself. I don't want to be a bother. And after a plot-convenient cave-in that puts us more or less exactly where we needed to be, I fight even more lambent, get my first glimpse of the forbidden Gatorade the damn things have been drinking, and then, of all the things to happen, run into a corpser. And it's right here that the run takes an unfortunate turn. What you're supposed to do is shoot him in the belly, then shoot him in the face. Do this fast enough, and he backs up, pushing the fight to the next phase. Simple, right? Well, it would be if it weren't for the strange, unexplainable fact that the corpser doesn't take damage from explosive weapons. Like, at all. Grenades don't do any damage to its belly, and even direct hits from the boom shot, which even confirm that I'm aiming at the right spot by turning the reticle red, don't do anything either. Trying to chainsaw its legs doesn't do anything at all, and trying to melee its stomach just gets you screamed at, pushing you back to the edge of the arena. Which means there's only one other solution. Dom has to do all the shooting. Yeah, no, this run is dead. And not just because Dom's aim is terrible, although that certainly doesn't help. No, the real nail in the coffin is the fact that Dom literally does 0 damage to bosses, which means this run is completely and utterly stuck. Now, I did reach out to the Gears of War speedrunning community to see if there were some glitches or out-of-bound tricks that might help me get past this boss, but sadly, everyone I talked to said that while there were a few glitches that could get me to this fight nice and quick, there wasn't anything in this level that could clip me past the boss itself. However, there was a brief moment where I had a glimpse of hope, and makes me wonder if I might have accidentally almost discovered a glitch of some kind. As you can see in the footage, if you fight the beastie normally, you push it back, and then Dom gives this voice line.
I think we're just pissing it off.
However, in one of my attempts, the corpser started breaking the floor, giving us less and less room to maneuver. I got tired of waiting for the corpser to finish me off and attempted to speed things up a bit with grenades, but then Dom said the voice line again. Did I do something? Did I break the floor? Was this just the game glitching out? I have no idea. But if anyone wants to play around with this and potentially find a new glitch, have at it. And if you're somehow able to push the corpser back without attacking it, please, let me know. I'd love to see it. But weird audio glitch aside, that's the end of the run. You cannot beat Gears of War with only melee attacks and explosives. But what if Dom wasn't terrible? What if, for a split second, he actually did his job? Well, luckily for me, Gears of War has another feature we haven't talked about yet, online co-op. And I know just the guy to help with this.
Oh, hey, Lemon, what's going on? How did you... Lemon, hey, no! I'm busy! Stop! No!
And with Dan graciously volunteering to help me through this part, we now have a better Dom. A better Dom who aims for weak spots and actually does damage. New Dom isn't without his quirks, of course. He still walks into walls and gets stuck on geometry, But despite a wave of lambent wretches popping up and giving us another thing to think about, Dom, was perfectly capable of pushing the corpser back 2 more times. Then, when we'd pushed it as far back as it would go, a new mechanic, a smashable clamp. Finally, something I can blow up. There's 1, and there's 2. And just like that, that's a corpser getting sucked into the gabagoo. And it's just that easy. Hey, careful. Almost got Gatorade on my shoe. Honestly, some people.
How do you get executed?
What are you doing?
Dude, I didn't even press anything. He was just shooting. I swear to God.
Ah!
Is my controller stuck?
But with that done, and Dan returned to whatever business he has to take care of, we can keep pushing forward in the run. It's just not the same. But all's not lost, because look what Gears of War has decided to bestow upon the run. The best weapon in the game, the torque bow. More on that in a minute. But first, giant drilling station. This is where we're supposed to plant the resonator. We're almost done.
You hear that? What the hell's that sound?
It's just the wind.
Yeah, right. When's the last time the wind said hostiles to you?
God, the dialogue in this game is so good. So anyway, let's talk about the torque bow. It's a bow and arrow that shoots explosive arrows and has a special modifier for its melee attack, which makes it the second strongest attack behind only the chainsaw. It's also used and dropped by the new enemy type, the Theron guards. And yes, if you get pegged with it, you're basically dead. So make sure to take someone with you. The guards themselves aren't too bad, so long as you attack them with either the chainsaw or the bow. But you have to be cautious about when you attack. All it takes is one guard getting a lucky shot on you while you're struggling to tell the difference between Coltrane and a Locust Grunt, and it's back to the beginning of the entire fight. On the bright side, with so many torque bow reloads just waiting for me to collect them from the still warm bodies they once belonged to, there's no reason not to fire off a few rounds to thin the herd. God, I love this thing. One shot, one kill. Just the way I like it. And with the last of the Theron guards taken care of, Baird sets up the resonator, which only requires him to pull a single lever, grabs a weird metal rock of some kind on his way out, and it's back to the surface with us while the resonator does its thing. I'm not exactly sure what its thing even is, but I'm sure it's important. We should get out of here. Faster. Must go faster. Woo! God, if I wasn't deaf before, I am now.
Did it, Marcus. Stand by. King Ravens are en route.
What?
Delta, bad news. It didn't work.
Oh, come on, really? After all that effort? Apparently, while it did go off, the resonator only mapped a small portion of the locust tunnels. Nowhere near enough for us to know where to place the light mass bomb. But it's not all bad news. That metal rock Baird picked up was some sort of geobot, and it just so happens to have records of way more locust tunnels than anything the resonator could have picked up. And where did all that data come from? Why, good old Dad's house. I guess Dad was a researcher of some kind. Time for a reunion. First things first though, we have to make it to the house. And with airspace too hot for helicopter travel, it looks like we're hoofing it. Act 4, the long road home. There's lots of combat between us and our destination, but with the torque bow in hand, I'm actually able to one-shot most of the enemies around me now, making combats much quicker and safer than before. And with Theron guards running around dropping the occasional ammunition for my bow, I can even use it against boomers and the like to keep things running smoothly. I melt down a few cedars along the way, trying to help out our forces in any way I can, get very good at surprise melee attacks that have minimal risk of getting stun-locked, and begin piling up bodies of enemies like a cat showing off its kills. What's that, a berserker? You can't stop the pain train. What? I said pain, not coal. It's completely different, shut up! And before you know it, I'm back at home sweet home. Ah, looks just the way I remember. Oh hey, this must have been my room. You can tell because of the Bob Ross painting on the wall. I push a few uninvited locusts back into their hole, make my way into the cellar where all secrets are kept, then find the super secret tunnel hidden behind some vintage 1945 Domaine de la Romanie Conti Grand Cru, which I definitely just destroyed. Naturally, the real secrets are hidden behind a big metal door, but after a quick round of combat to keep things interesting, our little robot Jack is able to rip open the door and let us inside. And there you have it, all the data we needed. And the news is not good. It looks like the locust tunnels are more prolific than we thought. The files are also too big to transfer, so Jack is going to have to download them and physically transfer the files over. We do a little more fighting inside the house, which has become very popular as of late, fight our way through the backyard, and make a mad dash to escape the area on an APC that Baird managed to fix while we were downloading all the data. And now we just need to... The hell is that? That a dinosaur? A dinosaur with machine guns and grenade launchers? Well, I guess we're gonna find out, because it's time for Act 5, Desperation. Apparently we're running out of time, and a light mass bomb has been put on a train. It's on its way to a big hole in the ground, and the data we collected, when put into the bomb, will guide it to the right location. So all we need to do is... Oh, well that sucks. Well, guess we need to lower the bridge then. Oh hey look, posters. You know, considering the state of things, I can't tell if these are propaganda, or just very blunt and honest. Dom and I head out to repair the power lines to make the bridge go down, kicking a whole lot of ass on the way there, and it gets so bad that one of the locusts actually gives up the ghost while staring at a wall. Now we just need to... Ah, there's my hourly dose of humility. Right on schedule. And to make matters worse, the Brumac actually chased us here, which means we now have to figure out a way to kill a minigun-wielding T-Rex. But first, I owe a few locusts a beating. There's one for you, and one for you, and where do you think you're going? Hey, take your lumps. Good. Oh look, more world building. Considering the locust threat, having movies like They Came From Below and It Ate My Face sound pretty spot on. Naturally, that theater is our next holdout segment. Sorry, but theater's full. You'll have to wait for the next showing. Or you could just sneak in like everybody else. I don't get paid enough to care. Ooh, boy, Acopado. That works too. Oh, it's this kind of theater. And here I thought we were showing movies. Wait, why did the locust set up turrets and a cedar in here? Whatever. Break a leg, kid. But after finally escaping the theater, we're still no closer to escaping the Brumac and fixing the power lines, which means we need a new plan. And I think I have one. But first, we've got another wall to deal with. The cedar is out in the open, but we don't have any Hammer of Dawn coverage, so we need to get creative. First off, let's break these propane tanks, and now we just need to trigger the explosive gas. Well, shooting the gas doesn't do anything, and after Dom informs me that I need to blow up the truck, it turns out that using a boom shot or torque bow on it doesn't do anything either. Because why would it? No, the only answer is the obvious one, shooting a truck with multiple bullets from a turret. Clearly the only thing I have on my person that could ever create an explosion big enough to light that gas on fire. This game is dumb. To be fair, the explosion is what killed the cedar, so we're still good, but I would love to have a word with whatever developer thought that explosive weapons only do damage some of the time. And on that note, guess who decided to finally show up to the party? It's Clarence, and he's happy to see you. I, however, am not happy to see him. In fact, I loathe this fight with every fiber of my being, and I'll tell you why. Not only does this behemoth think it's fun to run up to you and smash you beneath his feet, which is an instant kill, but this boss is another gimmick boss, which means we have to attack it in a hyper-specific way, and anything outside the box is completely unacceptable. Hope you like seeing yourself splatter across the pavement, because you're going to be seeing that a lot. So what you're supposed to do is shoot its hand cannons. Break each one of those, and it'll go into Phase 2. But don't worry about Phase 2, because you'll never get to see it. Despite absolutely hitting his hand cannons with my torque bow, you guessed it, 0 damage. I tried the bow, I tried grenades, I tried the boom shot. Nothing. And if for some reason you had any inkling of an idea that melee might work, you can kick that idea right out your head, because it doesn't. But what about Dom? Does Dom work? Well, yes, but actually no. Not only is Dom incredibly terrible at staying alive in this fight, due to the fact that he was a dinosaur kid growing up and only wants to hug those big old chicken legs, but I was able to prove, yet again, without a doubt, that Dom simply doesn't do damage. I don't know exactly what I did, but somehow I got the Brumac to glitch out and stop moving for a few minutes. And as you can see from the burst of electricity coming from its right gun, Dom is shooting at it, and the game is registering those hits. Problem though, is that even after sitting here for minutes, letting Dom shoot it to ribbons, nothing. No voice line confirmation, no animations, nothing. Which means we've hit yet another brick wall, with only one solution.
No, please, not again! I can't do it again! I'm busy! I have work in the morning!
Right then, with better Dom back in place, let's get this done. Alright Dan, just aim for the arms and we're home free. Dan? Hey, there we go. Progress. And after a little more running around, that's 2. At this point, the next step is to do damage to his legs to bring the rider down to our level so we can shoot him. But naturally, explosive weapons do nothing, so it's still up to Dan to do the dirty work. But here's the wild thing. Once Dan brings down his legs, I can actually kill the driver myself. Why? Fuck if I know! But what I do know is that the natural predator of the Tyrannosaurus Rex is electricity, which means that when the Brumac makes the mistake of chasing us into the transformer boxes and tries to chow down on some power lines, it gets quite the shock. That's one more dinosaur added to the extinction pile, and power restored to the bridge. Somehow. But with Dan once again released from his service, hopefully for the last time, we move forward to Timgad Station, where we have to kill all the locusts, then make our way onto a speeding train. Apparently, Locust took over the train, so there's no friendlies on board to stop it. Which means it's time to make our way slowly up the train, killing everything on board until we can regain control. Oh, so that's what that feels like. And after beating my way through all the Theron guards aboard the back half of the train, we have a new problem to deal with. We just lost our entire supply of Gears Crunch. Oh, and also there's a Berserker. I guess that's important too. I squeezed past her with some fancy maneuvering, utilized the 5 Ds of dodgeball to get out of her way, then make sure she gets off at the correct stop. Bye-bye now. Call me when you get home so I know you made it there safe. Of course, now we have Reavers to deal with, but one problem at a time. So long as we keep pushing through the cars quickly, the Reavers aren't really that much of a bother. And while the game does want me to push forward to another car that has turrets on the roof, we don't actually have to. I mean, I'm going to, because that climbing animation is the funniest way I've ever seen anyone climb a ladder in a video game, but as far as the Reavers are concerned, my torque bow works just fine, thank you very much. You can also use the boom shot, but it's slightly less effective, requiring 2 shots to finish the job. But any port in a storm, and with all of my ammo spent, it's time for the final challenge of the game. Being patient enough to wait 5 seconds after pushing a button. Wait, no, that's not right. What I meant to say was General Rom, the big bad that murdered Sergeant Kim back in the beginning of the game. He appears to be able to control Krill, which is bad. But Coltrane is here on a helicopter that has a UV turret, which is good. But General Rom still has enough Krill around him to prevent me from doing any damage, which is bad. But throwing a grenade at him removes them for a short window of time, which is good. But General Rom is very strong and can kill you easily, which is bad. But you can just hide behind cover to avoid his attacks, which is good. But the train is technically covered in shadows that are really hard to make out while fighting, and the Krill will eat you alive if you hide behind the wrong cover. That's bad. Can I go now? Right. So, with all that to consider, is General Rom killable? Surprisingly, yes. Just pick a piece of cover you know isn't shadowed, throw a grenade to remove the Krill, switch over to your torque bow as quickly as you can, and hit him with a charged shot. Bonus points if you can tactical reload your bow to increase its damage. Do this a few times, and the General dies like everything else. Well, almost everything else. You know what I mean. And with that, we plug in the navigation data to the lightmass bomb, charge it up for deployment, then cool guy jump off the train onto a helicopter while the train flies off the tracks and into a hole filled with emulsion, where the missiles use the nav data I gave them to launch and take off to their intended targets, killing bajillions of locusts with the biggest explosives Sarah has ever seen.
Double kill, triple kill, overkill, kill-tacular, kill-trocity, Kilimanjaro.
And just like that, we've done it. We've beaten Gears of War with only melee and explosives. And Dan, on 2 occasions. You two gonna pull me up or what? You know, that was a good time. And I do have an old Xbox 360 lying around here somewhere, so if you all enjoyed that, maybe we should give Gears 2 a try as well. Could be fun. But until then, that's all.
They do not understand.
Wait, what?
They do not know why we wage this war. Why we cannot stop. Will not stop.
Hold up. The Queen of the Locusts is a human lady. What? Well, okay then. To be explained in Gears 2, I guess. But until then, take care of yourselves, be good to one another, and I'll see you all again soon.